Welcome once again to the Bills and Bones podcast. I'm Gio, and I'm here as always my co-host PC. Today we are going to be talking about, we got the Bills versus the Ravens, and we got the Raiders versus the Browns today in Week 4. We're also going to be talking about some other games from our division. I'm looking forward to talking about the Jets there. That was an interesting one. This show is brought to you by, finally we got a big name sponsor actually. We got Nike. They're coming out with their new Tyler Bass Elites. The shoes are labeled left and right, but they're only available in wide. Tyler Bass Elites. This is your year.
Good one.
Yeah, I thought you would like that one. So, I'll talk Raiders first, actually. People are actually happier about it than I am as far as the win. We've talked about it before. I'm not a guy that is a win, you know, and I'm ultimately happy. Like, yes, I of course I like a win in the column. But I'm not a who cares, you know, win is a win, blah blah blah. I understand that the whole Raiders just win thing. I get that. I get that mentality. But there were some things I saw from that game that I liked, and there were some things I saw from that game that I did not like. We had everyone was like raving about, you know, oh, the Raiders, they have a new offensive packages and blah blah blah. Not really. And the ones that we did have were not impressive. You know, it wasn't like wow, this is some outstanding offensive coordination going on here. Like, you know, it was the same, you know, basic plays. It's just that it worked better last game. It worked better against the Browns than it did in our previous weeks. It was interesting that, you know, with Devontae on the sidelines there was a lot of question about what's going to happen with our throwing game. You know, is losing the Devontae option going to free up their defenders enough to keep our wide receivers, you know, under control? And, you know, that actually did not happen. You know, if I've been saying for a while, like, let's get rid of Devontae, you know, that game was not a very good argument for keeping him. And I guess I get it was just against the Browns and all that. I get that. But we did prove that we do have other weapons available. For me, the thing I was most actually disappointed in was Minshew. I've been kind of defending Minshew as far as, you know, we have all these other problems, and Minshew is not the issue. That game, Minshew was the issue. There were some very, you know, blatant overthrows, blatant underthrows, some big misreads by Minshew. He did not have the game that, you know, he should have had, could have had, you know, against the Browns. And my disappointing thing that I find the most is that we're going back to the strategy of, we'll score some points, and then hopefully we can hang on for the whole next half, and our defense can, you know, not let them score for a whole half, and then we can squeak out a win.
QB purgatory.
I was talking to...
That's what that is. What was the score? 20-16? I mean, that's the same QB purgatory game I watched for 17 years. And you could go back and look at any Cleveland Raiders game over the last 30 years, and that's exactly what that game looks like. The fact that your starters weren't in there was impressive to get the W. Obviously, not having your leader in Crosby was huge, but then the guy who made the winning sack came in and stepped up. That was who was in there for Crosby on that. Yeah, what a great play. I mean, that kind of stuff you can build off of. The Davante Adams bullshit is just, you know, like you said, that game in no way, shape, or form shows everybody, hey, we don't need them to win. No. You beat Cleveland by 4 in your own house. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah. The whole James, who's on this show, him and I were talking about it, and he actually said it really well. We're not playing to win. We're playing to just kind of stick around. Like, we're playing to not lose. There's a big difference.
That sounds like a kid who grew up in the drought, who grew up during QB purgatory right there. Well, we're not playing to win. We're playing not to lose. That was every coach we had in those 17 years.
And that's what it's like watching that. I mean, that's exactly what it's like. The
mean,
whole
it's
dynamic.
you just get so sick of watching that. I mean, oh my God,
It is,
please
and
win! But
it's
this
every
game was so gross.
It's
yeah,
every
yeah,
it's every game, and then of course you don't win the majority of them. That's why you find yourself not in the playoffs.
Yeah.
You win against the teams that's what they're also doing. You win against
Yes.
the teams that are not going to score 20 points in a game, because we scored 21 points. So now we win. Like, I feel like, when we hit 20 points, that was pretty much, our max apparently on offense, because we went drive after drive without scoring and it wasn't, penalties were crazy in the beginning of the game, but it wasn't even penalties that hit us, later in the game. It was the passes, the drops, the fumbles. I mean, Zamir White, easy what they do every single day, fumbling that ball. It's just like watching this team. Like, I really hope the defense hangs on, because our offense gives them no help. Our defense is out on the field all the time. It's just it's like watching the same game over and over and over again. And yes,
Yep.
that game, we should have been able to beat the Panthers with that game. I mean, we should have, but we didn't beat them. So it's not even like, well, at least we're beating other teams. Like, no, we're beating teams that have the same issues that we do.
Well, right, and you brought up something right there that is a perfect example of what's going on in this league right now. Okay, right? The Panthers game, you had a quarterback in Andy Dalton who was very well prepared, who did his homework, knew what he was going to do when he walked out onto that field, and surprised everybody with the attack that they were. Cleveland didn't change a damn thing. Everyone knows what they're going to do. And with Watson back there, I am sorry, but that ship has sailed. He was terrible. He holds on to the ball
He
too
gets
long.
so bad when he gets frustrated. Like, if we would have had Crosby out there to frustrate him, that it would have really just set it off the top. As soon as he starts getting frustrated, he starts screaming at his own players, pushing people on the sidelines. Like,
Sure.
that contributed to us winning.
Right, and they're having the same exact problems that you guys are going to have down the road too, because that QB position is just so, inconsistent. So when you're in games that you think you should win, but you can't win because of how awful that quarterback play is, I mean, it's got to suck as a fan. And trust me, like I said, I went out and watched the Bills play plenty of games like that in the snow, in the rain, and them lose. And even when they won, yeah, we got the win, but great, we're 6-8, and now we got to win out to even have a chance at a wild card. That's what that kind of stuff reminds me of, for sure.
Yeah. So yes, I'm happy about the win. I'm happy. The run game, got moving again. It did expose the problem that we've been talking about, as far as when the O-line does their job, then we got the yards on the run. It's not a Zamir White thing. I actually am a fan of Zamir White. I'm also a fan of Madison. I was very happy to see Madison, getting more involved in this game. But if you watch the tape, when he runs and there's just a solid wall, then yeah, he's not going to get anywhere. When they gave him some openings this game, then we finally started moving. Jackson Powers, JPJ there, I thought he was a great addition to this O-line. I mean, there definitely runs attributed to the work that he did up there. So that I like to see. It was nice having a draft decision in the past 5 years that actually, looks like it might work out. And our other failure, Tyree Wilson, had a chance to really show up with Crosby being out, our draft mistake, and you didn't even hear his name the whole game. Just a complete just washout of a draft mistake.
It's funny how
The
that goes.
defense. The defense is still not looking amazing. We're missing tons of tackles. I mean, we gave away just so many yards. We gave away downs, all that, because they're slipping those first tackles and get another 5 yards before our safeties hit them or whatever. We really need to pick it up. So yes, it's good that we won. Okay. We might actually look back on it and say, well, it's a shame that we won because we just kicked ourselves out of a great draft spot for a quarterback. I don't really know, which I guess I would be happy if we, did nothing this season to get us in a position for a quarterback. I'd be happy if we got to the playoffs. Where I'm not going to be happy is, once again, if purgatory. I'm not going to be happy with 7 wins this season. So we kick ourselves out of a QB spot, up in the top threes, and we didn't get anywhere with it anyway. That's what I'm not going to be happy with.
The problem is there's way worse teams in this league than you guys right now, and them bottom feeders are going to continue to just get worse. But at the same time, you guys got a tough schedule. You're going to be battling. I don't know what direction you really want the franchise to go in right now, because I know how badly you need a quarterback. But there may be something that's available later in the second round or third round that you could build on. But right now, I don't know. I just don't see Pierce, and I certainly don't see Davis wanting the team to lose games so that they can continue to be, higher up in that draft.
Well, AP, can't lose games. He's got a little 2-year contract, and Davis has finally given our coaches a contract that said prove it, after, giving people a 10-year, multi-million-dollar contract like we did with Gruden.
Right.
He's finally giving them short contracts and saying prove it. So AP, unless that's a plan that those two discuss, then AP can't afford those losses. Just like I don't think AP can afford to have Getsy as an offensive coordinator if he wants. When you're in a position like AP where you're not calling your offense, you're not really calling your defense. Patrick Graham can handle it down there. You need really good personnel around you, and he surrounded himself with who I view as good people. But Getsy, I think, is that really big bad spot that he's going to have to deal with, just like McDermott had to do last year. Or OCs, they're the ones that are going to take the blame, and we can't keep on doing these little tiny plays and just predictable runs. We tried to run it up the middle like 8 times in a row there before we at least tried something to the side. It's just such a predictable, boring offense. And I'm fine with a boring offense that gets yards and gets downs. And I'll watch a boring offense go 5 yards at a time all game. I'll watch that. But we're not getting that. We're not dominating in any aspect of the game. Like I said, did our offense look better? Yes. But would our offense have looked, that good against the Chiefs, against the Bills? No, absolutely not. It looked that good because of who we played.
It's a matchup league, G. We're going to talk a little bit when we get into the Bills, but it's so dependent. Look, you're hungry after losing a game that you should win. I was no doubt that the Raiders were going to win that football game. It's that time of the season where teams are starting to figure themselves out, and they realize, we got to win this one or we're just going to get ourselves even in a deeper hole. And I feel like these first couple of weeks with especially with the Bills, and I know with the Raiders, with so many young guys, they're still trying to figure out who they are. And as that continues to happen, you hope to see the growth. You hope to see the team continue to gel together, but you got to win. And you got to continue to stay in the hunt. And 3-1 is a good start for us. 2-2 is probably, I would have to think, you got to be pretty happy with that right now, or at least exactly right around
with 2-2 than 1-2 or 1-3.
I'm just saying, before this season even started, I think if someone would have said you guys are going to be 2-2 going into October, you would have been fine with it. Especially knowing what the rest of the league looks like right now. That's what I'm saying. There's so many bad teams, and we just got to figure out who the good ones are.
Watching the Chargers and Chiefs game, as far as talking my division there,
snoozer.
Once again, it's of course the Chiefs pull it out over the Chargers, but I'm watching these two people play, and I'm like, all we need is a good team right now, and we could do something in this division. You know what I mean? Yeah. Luckily, I guess by the time we fix our team in the next 2 or 3 years, maybe the Chiefs will go downhill and we'll start being able to bully in this division. But I also see the Chargers. I think the Chargers and Raiders are on a similar path as far as going different direction, rebuilding, getting better. I think that we're on a similar path. The question is going to be who gets there first and who's going to be the better one. I mean, right now Chargers have one up on us. But watching the Chiefs play, I'm thinking like these guys are beatable. Like it's at this point, it's just like a mental thing. If you play them, like these guys are a beatable team. If the Chargers can keep pace, with the Chiefs, then they are a beatable team. And it's a divisional game, and we talk about all the time as far as what divisional games do, but. I can't believe that right now this is our competition, and we should have it. We've been working on rebuilding this team up for 7 years now. I mean, like this should be this should be our year. I mean, this we should be in that nice sweet spot right now, and we're not, because we've had to tear everything down and rebuild it just over and over and over again. And the Chiefs haven't. Chargers are working on it, but.
On their current win streak, they were showing some graphics during the game. I think whatever 10 in a row or however many in a row they've won since you guys beat them on Christmas last year. Like they've only won by a combined of a little bit over 50 points. So everybody's keeping it close with the Chiefs. I feel like when they do get into those tough divisional games, they're going to have their hands full with a couple of teams. But let's face it, Andy Reid knows the Chargers very well. And so does Spagnuolo. To be able to attack that quarterback the way they did in the fourth quarter, you could tell the difference between the champs and the challengers in the end of that game. And sadly, the Chiefs are going to win games like that. That's what they do. They're very good at keeping it close and finishing when it matters. And the one thing that when the Bills have taken them down in the regular season over the last couple of years, they beat them by multiple touchdowns. There was none of that, chance of them catching us on a final drive. Maybe the first year, I think Vaughn got a strip sack or something. But in the playoffs, all their games were close. Every single one of them. They won in overtime. They lost because we missed a field goal. They had Miami come in when it was freezing. But other than that, they're playing close games all the time. And that experience, that coaching staff, they're going to continue to be very tough to beat. But with Rice going down, they got guys coming in off the street that are playing and contributing. They're going to have a real tough go as we move down the stretch here. And without Pacheco still, those are some key weapons. I was surprised that Kelsey had such a great game yesterday, but I shouldn't have been, because he was basically the only weapon they had.
I still think that he was playing injured for his first couple of games. Something was off there, and now he's doing better. The whole thing just doesn't make sense. How
a lot of teams are taking away the middle of the field. That's what it is, G. A lot of teams are just taking away the middle of the field, and they're daring you to
they've been doing that with him for years. I mean, it's not like he's like a new weapon. You know what I mean? Like, they know what he's been doing for years. He's so mad.
Yeah, but when your running back isn't there, and now your number one wide receiver is out, a tight end is going to have. I mean, he's going to have catches, but they're going to have to be crafty, and where he'll continue to dominate will obviously be in the red zone. But getting there is going to be tough. They didn't get into the red zone in that game until like third quarter. So, that's the thing that pisses me off, okay? The Chargers were set up to win that game. They got 2 early turnovers. They get Rice out of the game, and they only get 10 points out of it, and that's all they fucking score for the rest of the night. Like, that shit can't happen if you want a chance at beating the champs. You got to capitalize on your turnovers, and you got to keep your foot on their neck.
But, that's exactly what the Raiders do as well. I mean, that's exactly what watching the Raiders game is as well. Is, we get, 20 points, 15 to 20 points, and then we just like, okay, cool. You know what I mean? Then it becomes, hopefully the defense can just stop them for 2 full quarters, and so we'll win. It's just the same thing, over and over again. And it's not a winning strategy. And speaking of, when you're down your running back, down your wide receiver, let's hit the tight end. I was expecting Bowers to be utilized, every other play that game. I was shocked at how little Bowers was being used. I thought Baltimore kind of showed us something here, and since that Baltimore game, he's been severely underutilized. And I get he had a major drop pass right in the beginning of the game. It didn't look good, but he's also, a rookie. People drop passes. Let's get him in the game. I barely fed him that game.
I mean, watching Baltimore last night, they run a lot of zones, so like your tight ends are going to have their opportunity, but also they blitzed a little bit more than usual last night. So you're right. I mean,
when
totally
you use your
different
number
game,
one
totally
pick
different.
on a tight end that shocks everybody about why did you do this pick, and like I
better
said,
use it.
I like Bowers, but
I
when
get
you
you.
do that, yeah, let's see it, because I thought that you picked up Bowers because you had a plan for Bowers. I was all fine with the decision to not go for a QB and let's get Bowers because I thought that we had a new offensive strategy that was going to utilize Bowers. And so
Was
far,
that before or after you went and grabbed the whiskey bottle? I can't remember. Like, when was that during the draft? You were not.
At least it was Bowers. At least it was
You
Bowers.
liked
And I really
Bowers,
liked
but
Bowers.
that didn't mean you liked the pick. So let's stop right there, big dog.
No, I wasn't. I wasn't a tremendous fan of. Although from what I hear, rumor has it they tried to go for the quarterback. They tried, it didn't work. Whatever else that is. But I'm fine with the pick if there was a reason for the pick. I'm not fine with the pick if it really was just Yahoo said this is the top guy right now available, so I'm going to draft him. No, I'm not okay with that.
This ain't
was the
fantasy
pick.
football. Hell no. I get what
But
you're saying.
that's almost like what it was like watching, best available, Bowers, cool, we'll take him. I'm not okay with that.
No.
I want to see the plan with Bowers. I want to see him being utilized, especially in a game where we got Devontae down and where the run game is starting wasn't there in the beginning, started to pick up. Someone like Bowers should be being utilized more. The other one that I don't understand why they weren't utilized more is Mayers. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't know. We need something. We need something. I mean, I don't know.
Those guys.
I'm watching the game. I'm all frustrated. I'm like, where are these people? I don't know.
Well,
I'm
those
very
guys are going to
frustrated.
shine, and those guys are going to have their shot when your number one's in there. And until that happens, it's going to be tough for your backup
But
quarterback.
you gotta feed Jacoby. You gotta feed Bowers. You
Gotta-
gotta feed Jacoby is an outstanding wide receiver, not being used. I mean, I like
You
Trey
have-
too. I do, but
Minshew's been on 5 different teams in 4 years. You cannot have expectations that this dude's going to distribute. These teams are. Cleveland blitzed him all day long. He was running for his life. That's why it was so hard to watch. And at the end of the day, man, if you don't have a guy that can do that can at least, do more than 1 or 2 reads, he's going to struggle, and that's exactly what you're looking at.
So our other divisional that we didn't talk about, that's also your division, is that Broncos and Jets game. What the heck were we watching with that?
Well-
I mean, I was fine with it until the Broncos started scoring because I had Jets defense on fantasy, so I was fine with it when it was 0 over there.
Yeah.
But 10-9, that's what we're getting out of Jets and Broncos?
It was a disgusting weather game for starters. Not that
yeah.
you should be
Oh,
using
yeah.
that as an excuse by any means, but 2 teams that really don't have much going on offense right now, and just an entire just miserable day of old school looking football. You got kickers missing kicks.
But yet Brees Hall didn't do anything. I mean, it was a Brees Hall kind of game. You know what I mean? And they
Denver's
didn't get anything
defense
out
is
of it.
solid. You know that from the division. They're solid, and they always keep games close, very much like the Chiefs. However, the Chiefs have a quarterback that can go and win on that final drive. So, it's just when you watch those types of games, when the Jets missed when the Broncos missed the field goal to go up by 4, I was kind of glad that they missed it because that would have put them up 4, and then the Jets would have had to go down and score a touchdown. Felt like you got a better chance of scoring a touchdown than you did a kick and a field goal in that weather, and that's exactly what happened. They end up going down and missing it, and I couldn't have been happier. Nothing better than seeing Rodgers with the towel over his head and, doom and gloom in New York City.
He did not look good. He didn't look healthy either
No.
after that game. It looked like he definitely got banged up.
I just feel like, that Achilles injury is not something That's going to heal very quickly. As I say those terrible words coming out of my mouth, but like he is someone that needs that extra burst, and he doesn't have it anymore, man. And not having it at the quarterback position, there's no mercy. They don't feel sorry for you. He got sacked a lot. He was on his ass all day. He looked disheveled, to say the very least. And we're only in September, folks. It's only going to get worse for them.
Your division is looking like a good division to be in right now. I mean, I think Jets are going to get trounced next week against the Vikings. I don't think Jets are really a threat to your division. Of course, Patriots, you got them doing their thing.
Don't forget who played against the Vikings for 15 years over in Green Bay, my friend. He knows that defense pretty well. That's and what true. They're going to throw at him. But still, he's not the same guy. Minnesota's I want to see Minnesota do well now because, unfortunately,
they've been stepping up.
The Bills have their pick in the second round next year. So at the beginning of the year, I was like, "Oh yeah, they're going to stink." But then I was starting to dive into all the futures and take a look at what's going on. They're as sexy as a pick this year as Detroit was last year, and they got an offense to back it up. So their defense is making tons of plays. They are in a division that beats the shit out of each other, but they're tough, and they've answered the bell every single time. I mean, the Packers had a real big comeback, but it just wasn't enough. And seeing some of the stats that they have coming out of Minnesota, very, very, very impressive. So you're right. I think the Jets got definitely a big one and a tough one next week.
Dolphins, I'm kind of curious to see how it goes. Actually, while we're making this show, they're playing right now, but it'll be really interesting to see what they do against the Titans. I mean, Titans are 0-3, Dolphins are 1-2. I mean,
and both in QB purgatory.
Dolphins, you got to win this game. I mean, you have to win this game. If they do not win this game, it's going to show something.
Do you know who the starting quarterbacks are tonight?
No,
Mason Rudolph. Okay,
Rudolph. That's what you go with.
Mason Rudolph, who came from Pittsburgh.
Oh, I know him well from Pittsburgh.
Tyler Huntley is now playing for Miami, so this might be. And they're both right now. Mason Rudolph's 3 for 3, Huntley's 2 for 2, but they've got 28 yards combined for 5 passes. So the way to go.
I'm glad that we're doing the show instead of watching the game.
Oh my God!
I think it's going to be a pretty painful game. Yeah. But as far as your division, man, you got to be pretty happy right now with your division. I mean. You gotta be happy about that.
Well, of course.
Obviously, last night was a little rough, but what do you say, by the way, to the main thing I was hearing, and I'm sure you've heard it too, is Bills went up against a real opponent finally, and they got crushed. Like what do you say about that one?
I mean, a real opponent wouldn't have been 1-2, so let's start with that, okay? And look. Everybody's a real opponent in the NFL. I don't care what you say. You got to beat the teams on your schedule. Stacking wins is crucial in this league, okay? We're 3-1. We're at the top of our division, and we're very close to being in the hunt for that number 1 seed. You're going into Baltimore against a team that needs it way more than you do. They're very hungry. They're sick and tired of hearing how good the Bills are. And, they were the number 1 seed last year, and they went and got a guy who has owned the Bills for a couple of years now when we've played him in some primetime games. Derrick Henry showed us immediately how good he is and what he can do.
He is a beast.
But the truth is, we're fine. Lose a game like that, get smacked in the teeth. You got a bunch of young guys that are learning on a daily. Dorian Williams, he got beat a lot, okay? He got hit in the mouth a lot, but you know what he did? He didn't back down. And as the game went on, he was the guy that was around Derrick Henry most of the night, except for the obvious 87-yard scamper. But those games happen, man. When we were real good, we would go down to Kansas City on a Monday night when we were 5-0 and we would get our asses kicked. Those games are going to happen. Very rarely, only one time ever has a team gone undefeated and won the Super Bowl. So you're going to take your licks. You're going to figure it out. You're going to see, and obviously now all teams that we play against are going to try to do what Baltimore did to us and to Josh, and good luck with that. They've got some guys that are freaking awesome. Humphreys is a dog. He's a scumbag, but he is awesome. Like the kid from Notre Dame that played safety was all over the field last night. I mean, the list goes on of defenders from the Ravens that made us, remember them for sure last night. But Josh didn't back down. And to be perfectly honest with you, I'm sure you're going to agree with me on this. When the Bills came out in the second half and they scored that touchdown, the Ravens went 3 and out on 2 possessions, and then we come down and we're down 11, and that's when that horseshit, stupid fucking trick play bullshit came out of nowhere where Josh is over, as a receiver, and we're going to run some type of trick play. Like, these guys don't know that Josh is going to be a part of it. One, they're blessed he didn't get hurt. And 2, you're rolling. You're rolling. You're back in the game. You just stopped a team that shit down your throat for the whole first half, and you're going to go and try a trick play. After you were moving the ball. You were doing just fine with your 4 here, 5 here. There was a lot of big moments in that game that people are going to scratch their head about. And obviously that play is number 1. Number 2 for me is the Bills' first drive. What? 4th and 1, and all of a sudden we're not going to go for it anymore? All year long you've been doing it. And
playing scared like that was odd to me. I mean,
you're showing them your hand.
Second half goes, I was waiting for the Josh Allen experience as far as how many games has Josh Allen had that slow start in the first half, and then they adjust, they come out gunning second half, and I was waiting to see that adjustment and that rally that we've talked about before that McDermott has and the Bills have, and I think that was the biggest problem is I don't think that we saw an adjustment to what Ravens were hitting you with.
I disagree. I think the adjustment.
I think that trick play is an example of not adjusting, because when you got to go to trick plays and shit, then you're not adjusting and you're not playing to win. You're trying to be tricky.
Up to that point, we 3 and out, get the ball, score, kick it down to them, 3 and out. Come midfield, that play happens midfield. But you're right. Like, you're showing your hand when you don't go for it on those first downs. You're showing your hand when you're trying some trick play bullshit. I mean, it's one thing if it's a tie game and you're down at the goal line and they're like, what the hell is going on? And you make them use a timeout or something. We're down 11 and we're at midfield. It's 2nd and 6, dude. Like, grind it out. See what happens. Yeah. Score. Kick a field goal. Maybe they fumble. Maybe they fuck up. Maybe we get the ball back. We blitzed him hard. Do you remember at the beginning of the second half? We had a double blitz and he almost fumbled. Like, you're taking...
And your offense has proved themselves enough that there should have been more confidence in, spreading that ball out and doing what you've been doing. There should have been more confidence in Josh, and there should have been more confidence in your receiver crew there. So it was an odd game. I don't know if it was got intimidated being in Baltimore or what that was, but I kept on waiting for the adjustment and the rally, and I don't think it happened.
Well, after the turnover, they go down and score. They go up 18 where, let's face it. Let's say some magical play happens there and we score and we're down 4, but instead he fumbles, gets fucking destroyed, and then they go down and they score on 2 or 3 plays. That was it. The game was over right there. There was no more adjusting that was going to be made because we were going to have to air it out and take our shots and take our lumps. And as I'm watching Twitter and I'm listening to my pals as the game's going on, people wanted them to take Josh out of the game. That's how nervous they were about how, I don't want to say unprepared. There was that deer in the headlights bullshit, man. Dudes were just not ready to battle. And like I said, Baltimore's good. They went to the AFC Championship game down to the last play with the champs. They had the best they had the best record in football last year. And they picked up Derek freaking Henry. So it was a very tall task to think that you were going to go in there and win. And making the mistakes that they made, they didn't have a chance. So there's a lot. There's a lot
in our Pick'em League because I was telling my wife before the game, Baltimore is due for that win and Bills are due for that loss right now. It's just, to me, It's funny, like you get all the, well, they're just following the script, all that kind of crap again. But
No.
if you've been around sports enough, this is what happens. This is how sports go.
And like I said,
hopefully, Bills use it as a wake up call.
people who watch football and know football, like the Chiefs, right? What do the Chiefs do there? They grind it out, probably go down there and score. Bucker kicks a field goal, and it's an 8-point game, right? And now we're going to battle it, and you guys, and we're going to make you. We're going to take away what you want to do, and we're going to make you do the other thing. That's what the Bills were, and those are the adjustments that you're talking about. When you're down, like we were down, the Ravens were going to run, and we had a pass, and that was it. If it's a closer game, and you make them have to make some adjustments and make them do things that they don't want to do, that's when you're going to have a better chance at winning the ball game. And when we came out in that second half and we started showing some different looks, it was obvious that they were taking chances to hopefully try to get the ball back.
From that game, are there any areas that that concerned you as far as moving forward? Like, was this a fluke game, or
No,
did the
it's
Ravens
no fluke.
expose some stuff?
I don't think it's a secret that when you're down your three best tacklers, that teams are going to be able to run on you. I mean, that's pretty obvious. Spector and Williams are backups. They were not going to be starters. They started now. This is the fourth game for Williams. So, like, you're talking about two guys that have done an incredible job, in my opinion, filling in. Now, last night they got their asses handed to them by a team that was looking forward to making a statement. Like you said, they needed a big win to get everybody talking about them again, and that's exactly what's happening. That NFC North, or excuse me, the AFC North, everybody was hooting and hollering about the Steelers when everything and all the dust settled. What do you think? The Steelers are 3-1, and now the Ravens are 2-2. Do you really think that people think that the Steelers are the team to beat in that division? No fucking way. So I think that they're going to start. Your win is a huge win for you guys if you continue to stay in the hunt now, because you beat that. That's a, not only is that a big win because the head-to-head, but also the common opponent stuff down the line could come into play. But that's the number one thing: getting guys back. When they're talking about Terrell Bernard being able to practice this week, which is great. He's the leader on defense. He calls the play. Then they're talking about Johnson being possibly available around Halloween, which would be fantastic. And then ultimately, if we can get Milano in there around the end of the season, and as you're saying, continue to cruise in this division, it would be great to have those three back in a fucking rematch against the Ravens. I'll tell you that.
I didn't get the comment. I mean, the whole the Damar Hamlin thing, like, still going on and on. But the comment of he's leading this defense, like Damar Hamlin is now leading your guys' defense. That's where we're at. Damar Hamlin is the leader of the defense. I mean, it's so ridiculous. It's just so like, we get it. He took a hard hit. We get it.
The story's great, but and he contributed so far this year. And yes, when we're winning ball games and he can play center field and kind of read what's going on, he's going to have great success. But when teams are up and they're running it down our throat, that dude is going to have a long day. So did he get his nose dirty? Did he get in there at the end and try to make some plays? Absolutely. But he's undersized, and you saw it. And he struggled a little bit. And, as this season goes, Rapp went down. Bishop came in, did a pretty good job. Look, this is the area that we talked about at the beginning of the season. That secondary is going to get tested, and it's going to get tested a lot. Little did I know it would be on a run game. We were playing base 3, so we had 3 linebackers in there for a lot of that game to stop the run, and they still were stuffing it down our throat. So,
well, that's a big man to stop, man. I love watching him do his thing. That is a big man to stop.
I went down to Tennessee. You were working with me. I went down there for Monday night a couple years ago, and he broke a big one like that. And when you're watching him, you're like, how the fuck aren't they catching this dude? And he is just a horse. I mean, he's
just plowing right through him.
And it's funny is we got a fumble out of him in the end zone too, and they don't even get on that. Like, those, not that it would have mattered, and it certainly was already out of reach, but the dude isn't invincible. He makes mistakes. And I tell you what, he's an older guy, and he's a horse. but he's going to get dinged. He does every year. They don't play no pussy schedule. They're going to be playing a lot of teams that are going low on him and trying to smack him. So we'll see. That Steelers matchup against them coming up is going to be a good one.
What do you think about Smoot and his little knee knee to the head there? Like, I'm watching your Bills forum there on Facebook. I'm part of their forum too, and they're all like, we should do something about this, and this is blah blah blah. And so I had to post a comment this morning. I'm like, y'all are mafia until someone does some gangster shit, huh? And I got a lot of dislikes from that one. But like, come on, man! Like, oh my god, he hit somebody.
I
don't
care about
Pop Warner.
Yeah, but you're not anymore. And when we played, there was a different set of rules. I mean, if you want to go out there and break the rules when you're up by 15, or if you want to, actually, no. Don't be an asshole. Like, now, those refs are going to be watching you all the time. And the littlest stupid fucking thing you do the next time, they're going to come after. But I will say this. He played pretty solid after that. I think McDermott got in his ass and said, we don't pull that shit here.
That's not McDermott's style. Yeah.
He I guarantee you he had a little chat with him. And to be honest, that type of crap, those are the types of plays that in the playoffs end up costing you a W. You know what I mean? And I don't know. With the he was in there because Von wasn't playing a lot, G. Von played 9 plays on Sunday night. 9. So that just goes to show they weren't passing. They were in very few passing downs, passing situations, passing, thirds and longs.
Between Lamar and Henry on a run game, I mean, go with what's working. Like,
but they had almost 300 yards running the ball.
Yeah, I mean, I get the mentality of teams running the ball until you stop them. Make you stop them from running, because why go to the air and risk the interceptions and blah 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 if you can't stop a run, which is exactly what teams are going to be doing against us, because we still can't stop a run. So it's exactly what teams are going to do to us. For us, we squeaked out that win on the Ravens. It didn't go that way for you guys, but
they're stopping the run and they're stopping Derrick Henry is a big fucking difference. Okay, who's the running back who had a great game for Jacksonville this week against the Texans? It wasn't Etienne, it was the other little guy. What's his name? Gee, I always forget. But like we shut him down, okay? We've shut down some Chung, a guy who's historically over the last couple of years has had some big games against the Bills, even though we've won. But Derrick Henry is a bruiser, and you have to be disciplined, and you have to, dude, you got to hit. That's what it all comes down to. And those young guys last night found out that, man, you got to hit first. You can't be hitting second, because if you are, they're going to keep smacking the shit out of you, and that's exactly what happened. I think as soon as we didn't go for it in the beginning of that game on that first down, the Ravens were like, "Oh, okay, here we go. Then we're gonna show them." But obviously, I mean,
Baltimore,
the first play,
dominating. That first quarter, it was
first quarter,
that Baltimore
first play for one play, buddy. One fucking play.
Yeah, but those things happen. Like those one play things. Like those things happen. Like, yes, it looks really bad, but those things do happen. But
after that play happened, they stacked
on that. They just kept going.
Yeah, but they stacked. The Bills stacked the box, and then Lamar was throwing it to the running backs. And you saw that when, Henry scored his passing catch touchdown, and when Lamar ran his in. Did you see how much fucking room was between him and that defense that they were playing was inviting that quarterback to take off. And as soon as a lane opened, it was night time for the Bills. So, look, if I was any offensive, when Nate Dogg was on 2 weeks ago, we talked about this. You got to attack the young linebackers, and you got to attack that young secondary, and that's exactly what Baltimore did. He didn't challenge any of our corners. They didn't have receivers out there, making plays. They didn't have to. Their tight ends and their running backs were all over that field, and obviously Lamar was too.
So the New England game there, I mean, what can you say, what can you say about that?
49ers are good, man. 49ers good. I will say this.
Yeah.
They kept it close. The refs were terrible. I don't know if you watched that game. Holy shit. It was just like the longest game ever to watch. I mean, as a Bills fan, you're waiting around all day for that night game, and you're stuck watching some horseshit games like that. Oh my God, it was just. But I mean,
I'm not
obviously,
really sure why the NFL thought that was going to be, a really good matchup for that. But yeah.
well, I mean, look, we're playing that division.
49ers are a little bit of a streaky kind of team, but all in all, they're a solid team that should trounce, where the Patriots are at right now.
Well, they did. I mean, they won by.
They did.
But at the end of the day, like you're right, it was a very boring back and forth. Yeah, it was a snoozer. Yeah. But look, there's another team, the 49ers, that really, really needed that win, and they're banged up. They need a lot of things to go their way to get back to where they were last year. McCaffrey might not even be coming back. So, I mean, it's just crazy. Teams like the Patriots are, right now, people are assuming are at that bottom echelons for sure. But you'll see. They're gonna play teams tough, and they're gonna keep their games close. I'm really not too concerned about them at all. And I'm kind of happy that we have them at the end of the season, because by then you would think that they're having some quarterback issues. But right now, watching that game, they're really no threat to us.
So Bills got the Texans next. What do you think that they got to do here for the Texans?
Well, I mean, they're obviously not gonna run it nearly as much as the Ravens did. They may try, but that passing attack is legit. Obviously, Stroud, coming off that rookie season, is probably one of the, I don't know, maybe top 10 quarterbacks in the league right now. And obviously having an offense that's stacked like his, you got Diggs. There's so many different opportunities, different guys for him to go to on that team, and then a defense that gets after it. It's going to be tough. They got their first loss last week. We're both 3-1. The Diggs hype will obviously be the main thing that people are talking about all week. But Collins is solid, and their tight end is good, and they can run the ball with Akers. And like I said, their defense will bring it, and they will make us, have some difficult situations. That's a loud stadium. I very much doubt that it's going to be open. It's one of those, it can open, but they never open at type places. But who knows? But at the end of the day, Josh has been waiting a long time to go back down to Houston. I don't know if you remember, but when he was in his second year, that's where the Bills went to Houston and took a 16-0 lead into halftime and then blew it and lost in overtime. And after that game, Josh totally transformed not only his throwing motion, but just his entire approach to the position. And look, those dudes never forget shit like that. And I feel like when he gets the opportunity to go back down there and show what he's got, not only is he going to show the world what he's got, but he's going to make sure that Diggs knows that this team's going to be just fine without him.
And you got to be hungry after that Baltimore loss. I think that they're going to be looking to go in there and break some heads. So I think it'll be a good game. I think Bills have got it. I think Bills have got that game. But I do think it's going to be a good game. I think it's going to be one of those games that if the Bills let off the gas, then they'll be surprised. You know what I mean?
I think it'll be it'll be high scoring. Stroud dishes it. He very much like Josh will find the open man, find the guy that is going to be in a one-on-one situation. They got two guys that used to play for us, Singletary and Diggs, so they know some of Josh's tendencies and they know some of his tricks, so I'm sure they'll be, meeting up with the defensive coaches and kind of figuring out what they want to do. But it's a big game, baby. And like you said, a great way to bounce back after a loss like that is to get a big road win, get to 4-1, and get yourself ready for the Jets that next week.
Raiders, of course, really, really big game here against the Broncos. Our chance to move to that, to that 500 number, which is nice. I think Broncos are actually favored. I believe last time I looked, I think they're actually favored. I mean, they've had 2 straight on the road victories, but Raiders, man, we got 8 straight wins on Broncos. Going back, so we should be able to handle this. I mean, since 2020, we've owned the Broncos. I mean, that's kind of been like our thing of, well, at least we're beating the Broncos. So, like, we have to go out there and we have to beat the Broncos. If we lose to the Broncos, it's not a good statement for the team. It's not a good statement for AP. Like I said, it moves us away from that 500 bench. So, big game. I'm going to miss the game. I'm going to have to watch the game on Monday because I have a Jelly Roll concert to go to. I'll be with you to watch the Bills game, though. That'll be fun.
Maybe.
Bars watching the Bills game.
Don't forget about my little
situation. We'll cart you around.
Oh,
Nah,
okay.
we're going to cart you around. It's going to be okay.
Well, why wouldn't you be able to watch the Raiders game? What time's the concert start?
The game is right during the concert.
Oh, it starts at 4? I didn't know that. Mm-hmm. That's a weird concert.
So so I got it recording. So I just have to somehow avoid hearing Raiders news until I can get home and watch the game Monday, because I can't even watch it Sunday night after the concert because I won't have my NFL package on my phone. I gotta get home, so it's gonna be like a no phone entire evening for me because I just
sounds impossible
I just don't want to see
and
it.
terrible.
It's
well,
I'm at a concert. I don't need to be on my phone on the concert. I mean, that'll be easy. Like I'm at a concert, but. Yeah, I'm disappointed about having to record it, but I'm gonna have to record that one and watch it back later. But yeah, we have to win this game. It's a really big game for us. It's a divisional game. Broncos have been playing us forever. Like I said, we've gotten the better of them, but we're a different team right now than we have been. And
Bo Nix
we can still get it.
Not great, but he's doing an okay job. Obviously, Denver's strength is its defense. If you watched any of that Jets game, you know that's coming. And their fans will be very excited coming home. Obviously, after everything that's gone on, you would think that 2-2 is a nice place for them to be. And whoever obviously wins this game will go on and be one of the teams that's going to challenge the Chiefs. So we'll see. I don't see the Chargers as much as a threat. I feel like all 3 of you have a shot to give the Chiefs a little trouble, but obviously they're the best team by far in that division.
Yeah, I mean, it's, even though, like I said, I feel like they've definitely been, a little bit waning so far this year. They're still the top dog in the division right now.
Yeah.
I can't even say like, well, if we were healthy, because even we've been healthy up until last game. Okay, Crosby was injured. I get that, but we have not had a game yet that I could say if we had that game against the Chiefs, we would take them. We have definitely not had that game yet. We've had the games that we can beat, the Broncos. We've had the games that, including when we played the Chargers, that we should have beat the Chargers. Right? That was a very winnable game for us that we lost to start off the season. So we'll have to see. I have very little faith in Getsy having some new offensive plays or Getsy changing things up. Changing things up does not seem to be what Getsy wants to do. So I keep on waiting to see some variations and let's see Bowers out there more. Let's see Jacoby out there more. We'll have to see with injuries right now. Mayer, our other tight end, I mean, that's another big loss. I mean, Bowers is our receiving tight end, but Mayer gets, great blocks in every game. I mean, he's got great blocks. So being down him isn't helping us either. So we'll see what goes on with injuries. If we play the way that we played against the Browns, then we might be able to squeak it out again. But I'm tired of squeaking it out. I want to feel good about a win. I want to, I
feel like go on the road, beat them, run the ball down their throat, win by 2 scores, and you could start hanging your hat a little bit and putting your chest out. But you get that 16-14 game again, and there's 5 turnovers and a missed field goal, and Bo Nix throws a touchdown, and I don't know. No, thank you. I hope to see that they can respond after beating Cleveland and go out there and stick it to Denver.
As far as I'm actually thinking. Usually, I try not to bet on my own team, but if they're going to be down, I think I'm going to be betting on Raiders.
Yeah, they're 3-point dogs. I just looked on the most recent.
Where
stuff.
Where are you at with Houston?
I'm betting 2.5 dogs, but let me check.
1.5 spread. Bills,
that's what it is.
1.5. Yeah, over and under 46.5.
Yeah, I mean,
I would go the over on the 46.5. I think you got a chance to go over that.
I would think that there's a good chance of it. To be only, dogs by 1.5 on the road is impressive, and especially going into a place like that. But, we're battle tested. They would love to show the world that, they got what it takes and they're here to stay. So that game is going to be huge. And, obviously the number one thing for us is generating pressure and making Stroud get off of his mark. He's not Tua by any means. He's not going to, just go to that first read and all that timing stuff. He's going to see the field and he's going to make plays based on, mismatches and figuring it out, playing chess, being a little bit more aggressive when he needs to be. And obviously, having Diggs out there scares me just simply because he knows some of our calls and our coverages and things like that. But I'm much more confident in this game than I certainly was with Baltimore. It's only because I don't see them running it down our throat the same way that they did. And plus, their quarterback cannot run it nearly as well as Lamar either. That was a big...
Yeah.
The Bills,
yeah. Lamar's a different kind of threat.
You could see that they were rushing for and daring Lamar to throw it. And because we got very little pressure, he was taking his time and finding those little openings in the zone, and he kicked our ass with it. And that's Stroud's game. That's what he's going to try to do. I think the Bills will take a little bit more of an attack approach with him simply because he's not going to be able to get out of the pocket like Lamar can and hurt you with his feet. So it's a week-to-week league, man. I always tell you it's all about matchups. Stroud has never seen a Sean McDermott defense before, so we'll see how it goes. The Bills will be ready after this week. I can bet your ass that he's got them all in there nice and early this morning and ready to rock and get prepared for a big game in Houston.
Well, should be a good week. See everybody. Have a great night.
All right.